Welcome to Barely Filtered. I feel like it's been a while. I think it's because I was in Rhode Island and I actually recorded 2 podcast episodes in a row. And so I guess I did take a week off and I've missed you all. And it's hard for me to recap like what has been going on in my life. So I actually am taking a little sabbatical from dating. I don't really know what sabbatical means. I feel like that means a year off and that's definitely not happening. But I did do something that this was interesting. So this was the first time where I actually said to somebody, I had the balls to just be like, I don't think we're compatible. I don't want to date you. And this was a guy who I went on one date with. His first comment was that I got bottled water. It was definitely a joke and it was something to break the ice, I could tell. He maybe was just feeling a little uncomfortable, but he made a comment about the fact that like, oh, tap water is not good enough for you. That kind of comment, like even if it's a joke, like it triggers me because I feel like as a woman who holds their boundaries, we get comments like that from men, especially of being like, oh, not good enough for you. Or, oh, like you need like the fancier restaurant or you only eat this kind of food. Like you're too good for things. I feel like I've gotten that kind of my whole life. Maybe I'm a little snooty. Like there are certain things that I'm a little particular about, like pillows and water. Honestly, like I have an alkaline filter at my house. I spent a good amount of money on it. There's certain things that I care about. And so for the first comment to be from him about how I got a glass Evian water, then we actually did hit it off. Like I found his job to be very interesting. He's from the East Coast. I am. Like we had some things in common. And we kept in touch. We both were actually away on vacation. So we had this kind of text exchange and we were joking throughout the day. And we actually like had a really nice rapport. We could banter really well together, which I like. Like sometimes it's nice to just have somebody who lives in your phone that you could just text with throughout the day. That's like also a hot guy. So it was going well, but then he started getting pretty sexual. Like there was a lot of like sexual innuendos. I feel like, tell me what you think by show of hands out there, unless you're driving and just blink twice. Do you think it's a red flag if somebody starts leaning into sex too soon? Like asking you for a picture of yourself, like not a naked picture, but he was getting sexual. Like he would make innuendos. I'm trying to think of something that he said to give you a little bit more to work with here. But okay, so he was really tall and he would insinuate that because he's really tall, he has a really big dick. I'm like, I did not ask. But also in my experience, like height has nothing to do with how large a man is, penis size. It just doesn't. But anyway, then the conversation started to be about like, okay, when we see each other next, what do you want to do? And he was like, I want to come over and hang out. He was like, I want to cook you dinner because he likes to cook. I thought that was a very nice, sweet gesture. And then he was like, but I have to sleep over because like you live an hour away from me and I don't like to drive home at night. And I was like, okay, first of all, I have learned some lessons from my year of back-to-back dating. And one of the lessons is I cannot let people enter my personal space. Like I can't let them meet my kids, even if it's just as a friend. I can't let them into my home. I can't let them into my world too soon. I feel like all of that's been happening way too soon for the other guys that I've dated, the 2 guys I dated before I talked to this guy. So I said to him, I was like, because I'm learning lessons through this experience of dating, I don't want you to come to my house yet. You know, this is a place where my kids are. Like, it's one of the guys I dated who literally went to my house, ended up being an actual crazy person, like the one who had the family. Remember? He went to my house. That's a security issue. I need to be more careful about this. So I told him, I was like, you know, I really don't want you to come to my house yet. Why don't you like take me out to dinner? And I do feel like that's a thing. Like women should be courted at first. The guy shouldn't be coming to your house yet. He should be taking you out to dinner, taking you out to, I don't know, maybe I'm just old school like that. I fully believe that they need to take you out on a handful of dates. And he's kind of complaining about like the fact that he lives in West Hollywood. I live in Manhattan Beach. It's 45 minutes, an hour with traffic. Like, bro, you should be driving to my house, picking me up, taking me out on a date, driving me home, then driving your ass home. And and paying for everything just so you get to spend time with me. I don't know. I'm on a high horse right now, but I really feel like that's what needs to happen. And he comes back at me. He pushes back on this boundary and he starts saying like, oh, so you're going to punish me for the mistakes of past men that you've dated. Not everybody's like that. Like, I think you've been wounded, really leaning into this fact that like, I'm somehow traumatized by the past guys that I dated. And now I'm like taking it out on him. And I was like, no, of course, everybody has traumas in their life, but I understand you're a different person. I'm not saying you are a security issue at all, but this is a boundary that I put up for myself. A new guy I'm dating is not allowed at my house, at least until I've known you for a month or 2 or 3. And he kept pushing back on it. And he was giving me a hard time. And then he kept asking like, okay, how about I come over on this day? Or can I come over on this day? And I kept saying, no, you have to take me out to dinner first. And then I said something and he got really defensive because he had just bought a house and he was making a joke about how like, oh, he's going to be eating ramen noodles for a year because he just spent all this money on it. He was complaining about like how much, like he had an inspection. It was an old house. He needs all these repairs. And like, he was complaining about money to me. He just was like, he said he wasn't, but like, he just was. And I made a joke about like, do you not want to take me out on a date because like you are going to be eating ramen noodles for a year? And it felt like he was being cheap. It felt like he just didn't want to take me out, which brings me to another whole topic of like, I understand dating is an expense, but you got to know that a guy wants to invest in you. Am I wrong here? Like, obviously I can't hear you, but this is what really got in my head. Towards the end of my marriage, my ex-husband, like, he wanted to stay home. He wanted to watch sports. He wasn't like a going out kind of person. He didn't like to go out to eat. I really like to go out to eat. Like, that's one of the things that I like to do. I like to be taken out. I like an experience. It's not about who's paying. Like, I was married. It was our money. But like, I like to feel like I'm being taken out. And if this guy already on our second date does not want to go out, to me, that feels like a personal red flag. Is it a red flag for all women? No. But for me, I feel like he's not allowed to push back on my boundaries. If I say you're not allowed in my house yet, he should have just nodded and said, okay, what do you want to do? And second, if you get a feeling, and this is just like, first of all, like, this is not a hard and fast rule. These are just rules that I'm coming up with for myself right now. If I get a feeling like you're already not wanting to go out and do things that I like to do on the second date, then we need to put a stop to this. So what I did is I just said, I don't really think we're compatible. And he pushed back and he wasn't happy about it. And then the next day, a couple of days later, it was his birthday and I didn't text him. And then he texted me and he was like, that was really hurtful that you didn't text me on my birthday. And then I said, happy birthday. Then he kept trying to talk to me and I just didn't answer. But I'm proud of myself for putting the brakes on this before, not even before it got out of hand, but just like before I wasted any more energy on it. I think we're afraid to say no to something because we don't want to potentially close the door on something that we don't have all the concrete answers on yet. But if there's one thing that I'm learning is like, if you wait to be 100% sure, you're wasting time because most of the time we know right away. And if there's already like little questions in your mind and issues and just like things that are making you spend like too much brain power on, then I feel that is a red flag. So I shut the door on that and I felt really good about it. I felt like I got a new sense of energy. And I'm not dating anybody right now, but I'm feeling good about it because I do feel like taking a breather and just like saying yes to yourself and not like, I'm not even on the apps. I'm not even looking anymore. I'm just kind of like doing my own thing and I'm feeling really good about it. I don't know. Right now, I just feel like men are annoying me. So I'm going to take a beat and then who knows, maybe something will fall into my lap. I've been feeling very like energetically drained. I don't know if you guys have felt that way too, but I, of course, am very into astrology and I listen to all my astrology podcasts all the time. And I just feel like there's something about this time. And for people who are really intuitive and get their energy from others, I don't know how to explain this without sounding crazy, but I feel like my phone is depleting my energy. I feel like all of this technology that we're constantly surrounded with, we are not realizing how much it's depleting us to the point where yesterday I felt so tired and just like in my soul, my heart of hearts, I knew it was from my phone. I was like, I just need to like put it away. And then I started listening to one of my podcasts and they were like talking about how even just sleeping with your phone next to you and it's emitting all of that energy that I don't even think we fully understand yet, but 20 years down the road, we're going to understand it. This is just me having a little rant about if you're feeling tired, try putting down the technology because that's what I did. And today I feel so much better. Like yesterday, I was like, my phone is killing me. I know it is. I put it away. Today, I feel better. That is my rant about my dating and about technology is killing us, but also like download and subscribe and listen to my podcast. So don't put your phone too far away. This is the predicament we're in, guys. It's like our lives depend on it, but it's also killing us. But I feel like somebody much smarter than me is going to come up with some creative way to be able to monitor like how much is too much and be able to like use technology more efficiently and less mindlessly. Like I brought a book to bed with me last night and was still on my phone for like an hour and a half and then went to bed. It was like, I tried. It came with me. Maybe tonight I'll open it. Moving right along, today I have a very special guest. So Violet Benson, the mastermind behind Daddy Issues, is actually a native to Russia. Then she moved to Israel and her parents won the green card lottery, moved to the United States when she was 14. She was an accountant and then started Daddy Issues, which if you don't know it, is a hilarious account on Instagram and TikTok. And it really brought out the comedian in her. So she is hilarious. She's super smart. And now she runs a podcast called Almost Adulting, where she gives lots of tips on dating and just confidence in general. So I'm super excited to talk to her. And I know that you guys will get a lot out of what she has to say. Hi, Violet.
Hi.
Or Violetta. Which one is it? Both.
You know, I really want to go by Violetta or Violetta more. Violet just feels easier on the tongue. And a lot of times I don't feel like Violetta. Violetta feels like she really has her shit together all the time. She wakes up at 5 a.m. She goes running like a 7K mile run before she starts her day. Violet, she wakes up at 7, snoozes it, wakes up again at 8, snoozes it, wakes up again at 9, snoozes it. Then she's like, oh my God, I'm late. And then she's rushing around. She stains her clothes. It's just, I'm more of a Violet.
I get it. So it sounds like you like to be able to choose, but like Violetta is too much to commit to.
And then I always get nervous about people being unable to pronounce my name or remember it. So I'm always in the back of my head thinking about the convenience of other people. And I'm trying not to be that person anymore. Because I used to go by a nickname. Like when I first moved to the United States, the first day I had a Israeli nickname and the girl couldn't pronounce it.
What was the nickname?
Vital.
Okay.
So like Vital, but it's Vital because I just came to the United States in 9th grade. And this girl was like, what's your name? And I go, Vital. She goes, what? And I go, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Because I saw...
You're like, you tell me.
You know, Jennifer's such an American name. And she goes, oh, okay, cool, Jennifer. And then I forgot I said my name was Jennifer. So then other people were like, what's your name? And I go, Jessica. And then people were calling me Jessica, Jennifer, Violet, Vital.
Oh,
so,
that's a lot.
At all. Foreign girl.
Well, I actually think Violet Benson sounds like so dignified. It's like I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
So call me Violet Benson.
I will.
The full name.
The full thing, yes. I love that. Okay, so Daddy Issues. When I met you, I didn't realize that like you were the face behind Daddy Issues because for a while I was anonymous, right? Okay. And how did you decide to start an anonymous account?
The being anonymous definitely came because I was at a point in my life that I was in a very low point, and it was during my accounting days, and people think that I was in a low point because I was an accountant.
Yeah, to me, that's what I would think. I'm like, all those numbers, that sounds horrible.
Okay, that's another myth that people just, it annoys me that people think accountants are good at math.
They're not.
They just have to punch in numbers into a computer. They have to be detail oriented, but a lot of them are not that good at math. I happen to also tutor math for 10 years. That's why I take it so personally, because I am actually good at math.
Yes, okay.
It was the only subject I was ever good at in school.
Wow.
Yeah, it was my little savior. It's the only area where I didn't feel stupid in school. So I've always loved math.
I wonder if it's because like math is universal language and you moved to different countries. And
that's such a great, exactly. It could be because it's universal. I'm also dyslexic. And I think growing up, I had no idea that it means that maybe I think a little differently. Now I think schools have gotten better where they kind of, you know, will help people if they have different type of way of learning, where they can get extra time, or there's more subjects that are more better fit for you. But back then when I was in school, it wasn't like that.
They're like, oh, you don't know how to read yet? Then what's like the
I just felt always really stupid. And then math came around and it was really cool. You're right, it's a universal language, and I just look at it and it's a story. And I just see a story being told, and I've always really loved it.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. And I realized that because I was listening to some of your episodes, and I was like, oh, she's an astrology bitch too. Are you do you have a lot of Virgo in your chart, or are you like super? No. What are your signs? What's your holy trinity?
What do you think my sun sign is?
Are you like a Libra rising?
So close. Sag rising.
I'm Sag rising too, which is interesting for podcast hosts.
It is?
Yeah, because Sag rising is like our destiny is to kind of preach and to share our learnings with the world, which is like, yeah, because if you think about it, like, so it's the third of the fire sign. So the Aries is the spark, then the Leo is the sun, and the Sag is like the wildfire. So it's like you want to like disseminate everything that you've learned, and you're like the professor. But for me, I don't know, we could go into this forever. And like, do your listeners like astrology? Mine are kind of like, stop.
Mine love it. The funny thing is, a lot of times I do things sarcastically, where I think it's kind of lame. But then I get really into it. Like when I thought Twilight was lame, I'm like, oh yeah, let me watch this stupid movie. Yeah. Then I watched the whole series, and then I read all the books.
That's like me with Game of Thrones. I'm like, I don't like fantasy. I only like real stuff. And I'm like, oh, I was so upset. Yeah.
So it's the same thing with astrology. It was more sarcastically first. And then I'm like, well, if I'm looking into it, I might as well just know everything about all of it. And then I did. And then I was able to do the episodes for my listeners. So no, I do carry the knowledge of it.
Right.
Just because I had to do all the
Twilight.
research. Yeah. Both.
Wow. Oh my god!
I had to do that research on it. But my sun is Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
My rising is Sag. My moon is Aquarius, and then my Venus is Libra.
Oh,
she makes me a lover girl. And my Mars is Aries.
Okay,
which is why I can be so fiery. I'll snap, but then I get over things really easily. And then my social signs are in Gemini, which I think is why I'm such a curious and social person. And there is this one zodiac sign in your chart that predetermines supposedly what you do in your lifetime.
Your North Node?
Yes. And for a lot of people who are entertainment, it's normally Leo for them.
Oh.
And I thought it was Leo for me at one point because, you know, you love the stage.
Right.
But then since I was born in Russia during the Soviet Union, like there was no, I don't even have my birth certificate or anything like that. So the time difference, by changing it by 30 minutes, everything changed in my chart, including my rising, because it used to be Libra.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. That's why I said so close.
Right.
But I changed and it's Sag. And that star that's in what you do for a living or whatever, it was Leo. But then when I changed it, it became Scorpio. And I actually do agree with Scorpio because I'm so intense and passionate when I am really into something that I do for my work. Like I love it so much. That's the only way I'm able to be successful in something, if I love it.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. What about you?
Yeah. So I actually have a Cazemia. Cazemia is when the sun and like a planet are at the exact same degree. So I'm an Aries sun, and my Venus is at the exact same degree. So I have a Venus sun Cazemia in Aries, which is basically, for all of you listening, just means that like I'm meant to date. It's in my 5th house of home and family, which is like basically Venus is love and like passion and everything. Aries is obviously fire. Fire and passion and like, but also impulsivity. So like I'm learning about myself like through my chart and through my dating. I'm a lot of fire and air. I have a lot of stuff in Gemini. Then I'm a Sag rising and an Aries sun. So, but
what's your
moon? Pisces. So that's my emo side. My emo side. Yeah.
But I think it's always good to have some type of water in your chart to kind of be more closer with your emotions.
Yeah.
Especially signs like Aries and Leo, fire signs, in my opinion, they really do need to have water signs in their chart, because fire signs in general, they're the most selfish zodiac signs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in a bad way. No. My sister is a Sag, and one of my favorite things about her that I'm envious of, 2 things. One is that she's able to express her emotions so quickly, and I'm unable when she feels something, she says it.
Yeah.
And it always shocks me.
Yeah.
Because I have to ruminate on it.
You're like my sister Sophie, who's also a Scorpio.
Yeah. I need to think about it. And then when I finally say how I feel, it's like 57 things.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. We're like, why didn't you tell us earlier?
Exactly. And the second thing that she's really good at is she always puts herself first. And that's actually such an amazing trait if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Because you know, she walks through life easier.
You got to put your oxygen mask on first. And you said that your whole chart changed when you went from one system to another. I do think that both are correct, which is hard for people to really understand. But like, we're all made of these elements, and it's just like what percentage we each have of what. And it changes based on like what the current sky looks like too. Anyway, I'm so excited because I feel like I don't explain it super well, but I heard on your podcast that you were into astrology. So I was like, I'm going to ask her some questions, but it makes so much sense now that I hear it. And I think actually it'd be interesting to show like everybody who's like in some kind of like journalism or broadcasting or whatever, or podcasting, like I bet a lot of them are Sagittarius rising.
I always am into astrology until I date someone that's not my compatible zodiac sign. Then I go, what's even astrology?
Right. The last guy I dated was my soulmate on the Pattern app. And I'm like, but then when I really dive into it, you can see like how certain things have played out. Astrology is like a blueprint, but like things can play out so many different ways. And then now you could turn out to be a totally different person than like our traumas and everything. Like his mom was super cold. And so like that changes the way a man is able to love a woman, you know?
Yeah. No matter how much I don't believe, a lot of times I just say, oh, I don't believe in astrology. The minute I have a crush on a guy, the first thing I do when I open my laptop, what are some signs that an Aquarius is into you?
Yeah.
How to attract an Aquarius.
Yeah.
And I literally have episodes on it too. But then I'm like, how do I get a Leo man obsessed with me? Like, no matter how much I say I don't believe in zodiac signs.
Oh my God, wait a minute. So one of the things that I loved about your podcast was like, you're so confident in your dating tips specifically, because my show, I talk a lot about dating, but like it's mostly about my crash and burn fails. And like they're kind of along with this ride with me. But like, how do you find yourself to be such an authority? Do you feel like you like, or are you your own guinea pig, and are you dating?
Anything I present on my podcast is through research and books. So when I'm giving advice, let's say on how to date a man, that means I've read dating books by male experts and how to date a man by a man.
Right.
And that's the advice I give. And of course, it mixes with experience and understanding people. I'm just a very curious person in general, but my confidence doesn't stem from, it's not about dating, and my confidence doesn't stem from looks. My confidence comes from within. My whole podcast in reality is about when you figure out how to have a better relationship with yourself, that kind of ends up projecting and spilling over into everything else in your life with all your other relationships. So you can't really have great relationships with friends, partners, family, all that, if you don't have a great relationship with yourself.
Totally.
If you don't set boundaries with yourself, you're not going to have boundaries with other people. So I speak with confidence also because A, I'm in my 30s, and I think some things change when you're in your 30s. You gain that confidence. B, I think it's a foreign thing. Eastern European women, we walk around with just how we walk around. And I don't know, I've never really cared what other people think. That's always been because I can't really read face expressions.
Why?
I don't know, just a thing.
It's because you're too busy doing math problems in your head.
I don't know why, but of course, used to hinder me growing up. And even in my professional work in accounting, that's really hard when you struggle with social cues. But it's cool when you find a profession that now it's kind of a plus. And yeah, look, in the end of the day, you can't really worry what everyone else thinks, because once you realize that everyone else is so worried about themselves, you realize that no one's ever really thinking about you.
Totally. So when you say that you struggle with facial cues, my mind directly goes to dating, because I'm like, dating is like the ultimate like social skill, because you have to be able to know how to, like, are they liking me? Am I flirting? Do you find that to be difficult when you're on a date?
I guess I never sit and think if they're liking me.
You don't? Not like, are they liking me, but if they're understanding what you're saying, or if you're understanding what they're saying. I don't know. The social cues doesn't.
I think I'm just on this like extra level of delusional, and I've always been this way. So my thought process is always like, of course they like me.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how I move in life.
Yeah.
And you know, now there's a whole like lucky girl syndrome and manifesting all that. I didn't know that was a thing, obviously, growing up. But it's just a way where I just tell myself everything's okay.
Yeah.
No one else can say that to me.
Yeah.
So it's more like, of course they like me, or why else would they be on this date with me?
Totally.
Like, of course I have those moments where I start to get insecure when I'm dating a partner, but now I've learned that either A, when that starts to happen, it has to do with more internal things of my own issues, or B, my body is telling me something, like this person isn't right for me. Like in my 20s, with my ex-boyfriend, I had a partner for 8 years on and off. And it was to a point where when he would break up with me, I could not function. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I didn't want to get out of bed. I just would stay still until he would get back together with me. And saying that now out loud feels quote unquote pathetic or whatever, but I know that's a universal experience for a lot of women, especially when you have different dynamics with your parents or you haven't figured out how to love yourself yet. Yeah. So I've already been on the other end of the stick of where I can't function without another human being.
Right.
And now in my 30s, I avoid that. So because of that, I know that I was okay before this person. I'll be okay after them.
100%.
I'm okay. Like this date is great, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm not going to sit constantly and worry about how with my ex-boyfriend of 8 years, I shaved my body every single day. So if we're not breaking up for 6 months, I'm freaking smooth like a dolphin.
Yeah.
Every single day. If I didn't want it to go number 2, I was too afraid for him to like know I do that.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, I'll be right back. I have to pick something up. I would go to a gas station to do that.
Stop it. This was even after 8 years of being with somebody?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been there in my 20s where I wanted to be so perfect. And guess what? It didn't matter what I did.
Yeah.
He was still cheating on me. He still didn't love me and it was never about him. It was about me figuring out how to love myself. And I kept staying around. And I was like, no, if I just do this, if I just be like this, if I was more this, then he would love me. Does he like me right now? Am I perfect? Am I good enough for him? Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I obviously was dating another version of my dad.
Yeah.
So then in my 30s is when you kind of like, and the only reason him and I finally separated is when I created daddy issues and I started to love myself from that. And I healed my relationship with my dad when I created daddy issues, because followers of daddy issues gave me the confidence to realize that we're so much more similar than I ever thought we were. And the fact that, you know, it was okay to be different. So I realized, you know, I love my dad and I want him to know that. So I'm going to start telling him, and I don't care anymore if he rejects me. And with my boyfriend, I realized, you know, every time I saw him, I started loving him less and less because I started loving myself more and more.
Yeah.
We finally broke up for good. Thank God.
Yeah.
He was able to find a partner that's a better match for him. And did he change? No. So, you know, what a blessing for me. And in my 30s now, I guess I started worrying less about dating and I started worrying more about healing myself. I'm not on this, like, of course, in the back of my head, I'll think about what society expects from me, which is to be with a partner. But like, I've already experienced that, and I know, I see my ex and his new partner and I see what my life could have been, and I'm so happy that's not my life. So in my 30s, I'm just more focused on myself now. So yeah, when I go on dates, I'm not sitting anymore and thinking about, oh my God, did they like me? Because I did that all of my 20s.
Totally. I mean, I 100% understand that. I think all women have had an experience of not feeling like we could be our full selves with a man in a relationship. And I think when we realize that, you know, anybody we need to change ourselves for is not for us, then that's when maturity definitely happens. But do you ever feel like you want to be in a relationship with somebody? Or do you feel like that's just something you don't need?
No, I like the idea of it. I think everything in life that you really want takes work. And I understand the same thing goes into relationships. So I think my biggest issue, to be honest, is that sometimes I'll avoid dating because I will accidentally get into relationships too fast.
Same.
So sometimes when I'm not ready for that and I can't discern who's the proper partner for me, then I just avoid it. But I have been trying to get back into dating, but like I said, it takes work. So that part has been hard for me because I'm too comfortable with being alone, which isn't that great. And that happens a lot for people as they start to get older. But I'm not jaded in any way. Like I don't hold my exes cheating on me. Yeah,
same.
With new partners that I date, like I don't think like that. I still believe in love. Like I don't think all men are terrible. I think it's all about who you attract. I date really amazing guys. But a lot of the time, I just kind of don't feel it.
Right.
So
do you feel like having a family, like a traditional, like kids and a husband?
I would love kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out you actually don't need a partner to have kids now. Like I
I
don't.
would like to
I
do
have
it
two
with,
and I'm single.
I would like to do it with a partner because I would love to stop working.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Believe me, you need somebody.
Just kidding, but maybe.
Yeah.
No, my mom said that my sister and I will never stop working. We like it too much.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up, Mom.
Yeah, don't put that into the universe. God.
I mean, having children is a full-time job, so.
It really is. And yes, that will definitely put a wrench in. Well, you know what I'm learning though? So, because I want to be in a relationship eventually, one that's real, but like people need so much from me because I have 2 toddlers. I have an ex-husband who I still have to talk to 50 times a day because, you know, I have 2 kids with him and he's still a man. Just today, like he's calling me about these bathing suits that he needs because my daughter has a camp and I'm like, just figure it out. Anyway, but my point is that like dating, like I say I want a relationship, but I actually think I don't because I don't think I have the bandwidth for somebody who needs any more from me. So I think we all are kind of getting what we want, whether like consciously or unconsciously.
100%. That's why a lot of times when someone walks around, they go, I don't get it. Why am I always attracting? Like somebody reached out to me a while back and they go, I don't get it. I'm always more drawn to men who are already married.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not obviously would never encourage that, but I said that's because somewhere deep down, you're not looking for anything serious. So it's much easier. It feels exciting and it's much easier to go for someone that you already know. It's not going anywhere long term.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing if you're attracting partners that you're like, what? I had no idea we weren't gonna get each other. It wasn't gonna work out. He's such a man child, blah blah. It's like your biggest fear is gonna end up being what you're attracting.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I mean,
I don't want someone to depend on me, and that's exactly who we end up dating.
Yeah, somebody who wants to depend on you. Do you feel like you attract a certain type of a guy on repeat?
I feel that maybe in the past, I attract men that are projects in some way or in a way where I have to baby them. And I don't like that because I want to be, relationships is the one area that I want to take a step back. So it's kind of like what you're saying. It's the one area where I want someone to take care of me.
Yeah.
Because everything else in my life, I'm kind of do it all on my own.
Right.
But I seem to attract the opposite. Like one time I was dating this guy and we only dated for a month. We weren't even sleeping together. And he ends things with me because before us, he was engaged to someone. He broke it off, whatever. And he wasn't expecting to like me so much and dive into whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he decides that we should break it off. And I said, all right. But then for 2 days straight between my meetings, he's in my house crying about it. And I'm holding him and comforting him.
Oh, my God.
And I told myself that it will be the last time I will date an actor.
No, literally. I know.
Because I'm like,
they're too emotional.
Well, I'm holding him, telling him it's okay.
Yeah.
You dump me.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
100%. Wait, so did you meet him on Raya? Where are you meeting guys?
I probably did meet him on Raya. I think I did.
Because that's all I'm finding on Raya, like artists, I mean, no hate to artists. I guess it's more interesting than like finance, which I don't know what that even means when a guy's like finance. I don't know.
That's how I feel about tech. When a guy's like, I'm in tech. I'm like, what does that
it's
mean?
like, unless you invented Google, like
that's what I assume. And then they're like, oh, I do. This one guy said I'm in tech, but then he does wholesale where he connects the wholesaler with like the brands. And I was like, that's tech? That sounds like.
It's like, are we in tech? Because we are like on our phones.
Know, so I don't really get it.
I'm gonna start saying I'm tech.
I would want to date a guy in finance or a producer. I am going to say this right now. That's probably the guy I'm going to end up with. He's either in finance or he's a producer. That's my type. Behind the scenes.
So, you know, because we're both Sag risings, like if you look on the opposite side, our descendant is in Gemini. So we're supposed to actually find a man who sun sign is Gemini. Now we have to share guys too.
I'm not gonna. No, Gemini and Aries are perfect. Scorpio. My least compatible sign is Scorpio is a Gemini.
I'm not even supposed to talk to Scorpios. Like I've been advised, don't even get in the same room as them.
First of all, Aries and Scorpio have one of the best sexual chemistry.
Really?
You can actually
Aries that makes sense.
And Scorpios are the only 2 signs where they love to be possessive of one another, where they're like, you're mine, I
that
own
is
you.
so
and,
funny.
Like, they love that with each
so
other.
My best friend Katrina Scott, she's definitely not listening to this because she doesn't listen to my podcast because she's too busy, but she literally, if I see her with a new friend, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I did not say you were allowed to make new friends. No, but she's a Scorpio.
That is so Aries, and I dislike that.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not possessive, but I'm like, oh, I don't know her. Like, you have a friend that I don't know about. Who is she? Like, I'm gonna need to come vet her. No, I'm just kidding. But she's my best friend, and she's a Scorpio.
Partners, like, I love it when my partner wants to claim me or show me off. I think that's so hot.
It is.
Like, I love public affection too.
Really?
I can't date someone that one time I was on a date with someone. It was like our second or third date, and I finally wanted to kiss, and I took him to some event where it was a movie premiere or something. So afterwards, there's the after party, and we did not know anyone there. And then I was a little tipsy, and I just go, what if we just like made out? And he goes, what? In front of everyone? And I go, who's looking? We don't know any of these people. Are you serious? He goes, let's wait till we get home. And that was a big turn off for
That
me.
is a big turn off. I totally agree. They need to be proud of you. Actually, I dated a Croatian who actually, like, to this day, I think it might have been like the only guy. He was like my truest love, like more than my marriage. Like, he was just like, when I think about this,
was he
like,
a basketball player?
He was a football player. No, sorry, soccer player, but football, whatever.
I also did a Croatian.
Really? Well, okay. So Croatian, like, that's East. I mean, former Yugoslavia. Like, it's a Slavic culture. He also did not want any public displays of affection. I feel like that's like interesting because in Russia, is that a thing too? Like, that there's not a lot of.
Well, I don't like. I would say, okay, I'm very social, but that's my Jewish side. I'm Russian Jewish, so I'm very friendly and social and warm. That is not the regular type of Eastern European type of culture, but I am in the Eastern European type of culture when it comes to hugging with Americans.
Oh.
I don't get that part.
You don't hug?
I wish. I mean, I don't want to.
No, interesting.
A lot of times it just happens.
Yes. I'd like when you just walked in here and I just hugged you.
I want to, but a lot of times it's just, oh, I'm a hugger. And I'm like, what if I just was like, oh, I'm a groper?
Yeah.
And I just started.
It's like, well, I had two, but I like to squeeze the boobs when I do.
Oh, I'm a groper. That's nice. Oh, it's really warm down there. Is that a yeast infection? What's going on down there?
Oh, my God.
What if I did that?
No, I feel like that's a little different, but I get it. I do get it. Like, I don't know.
I don't like hugging. I've always been very weird with touch.
I don't love like because my family's Italian and a lot of my relatives always want to do the kiss, and I'm like, sometimes I don't like the face thing. With older men that I don't like smell.
No, we don't like.
You don't touch the cheek.
In Israel or in France and other countries where when I go there, it's. And you're not even touching the cheek. So it feels less personal in some way.
In Italy, we're straight up like.
Well, Italians, they're just, I'm sure.
Licking.
And Spanish people, they're also very just. I went on a date with a guy who was from Ibiza.
Ibiza. Oh my gosh.
And he's like, oh, Violetta, you're so sexy. And I was like, Miguel, stop. Don't touch me. I'm like, and I kept telling him, I was like, Miguel, please. We're from different cultures. I'm Russian. It's like, we don't do this. He was like, oh, I just like touching you. But I was like, no. But I love him, actually.
So you guys are still good. Okay, good. He's not like, oh my gosh, in jail.
No, yeah, we're so good. I love him.
Okay,
well, that's the best. I actually regret I didn't date him.
Why don't you mean it's not too late, is it?
He has a girlfriend and he lives in Ibiza.
Oh, it's a little late.
It's like some obstacles.
Yeah, but it's not like totally off the table. It's not like the worst place to go visit. If he lived in like, I don't know, upstate New York, I'd be like, yeah, okay, never mind. He's off.
No, for me, it's if a guy lives in Venice or Santa Monica, it just feels like long distance. But I would date a guy from London before I would date a guy who lives in Venice.
Where do you live?
Encino Hills.
Okay, that's where Olivia lives too. Am I allowed to say that? I mean, it's a good big place.
What's her address?
Yeah. One phone. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to do a few hot takes because I feel like people are going to want to know just like your funny opinions on things. Okay, so are you currently dating? Like, are you currently going on dates or no? Or like, when's the last time you went on a date? Because these are dating hot takes.
3 weeks ago.
Okay, so you're like in the game a little bit. Okay. Is ghosting a valid way to end things? Or do you think this is the ultimate sign of a coward?
I think people are different. Research shows the most typical people who typically ghost are people who believe in love at first sight. And there's two types of people. So if you feel a spark it's there, and those are the people most likely to ghost. And then it shows that there are other people who believe that love and relationships build. So those are the people who are less likely to ghost. When it comes to ghosting, I do believe it's valid. I will say, I think now people are just too sensitive in their lifetimes. The truth is, you don't actually want to hear what those people want to tell you, because I don't ghost. I want to sometimes, but if someone's not getting the hint, I will let them know. I just did that last week. Hey, listen, I don't think we're a great match. I had so much fun with you, but I just don't see this working out. Then they go on these rampants, like trying to convince me why we are a good match.
Yeah.
And that actually irritates me more.
Okay.
So
I understand.
I think everyone's different, but if someone went on one date with you, they don't actually owe you anything.
Yeah.
And we always think they do because we're the ones on the receiving end, but we forget that we probably most likely already did it to someone else too.
Well, but I don't think ghosting needs to be like on the first date. Like, let's say you went on like 5 dates with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. If you go on 5 dates and then you just stop responding, then first of all, that person showed you exactly who they are. Like, what a blessing.
Right.
They're not in your life. Because a lot of times people reach out to me and they're like, okay, we were dating for 2 months and he ghosted me. What should I do when he comes back? And I'm like, why would you want him when he comes back? Because when he comes back, you're going to get even more attached. And guess what? The best way to determine someone's future actions is by looking at their past actions.
Right.
He's literally going to repeat the same thing. And this time you're going to be even deeper in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's valid if it's been a few dates. But again, if you need that closure, then reach out and get that closure. But do I think it's really going to feel satisfying that someone doesn't want you? No.
No, it never is. Yeah.
And a lot of times when you feel really great about yourself, a lot of times you don't notice people are ghosting you. It's only when you're like, oh, my worth is wrapped around whether or not this random person likes me.
Yeah. Yeah.
People call everything ghosting. You stop, someone doesn't respond to your last text. You're like, oh yeah, he ghosted me. Well, you could have reached out too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The double text, like people are just so proud. They don't want to double text.
I think I have too much pride. So I'm always like, no one has ever ghosted me. People probably ghosted me. I just don't care enough.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, you didn't notice. You're like, people come back and apologize for ghosting and you're like, wait, who are you? What?
Literally.
Okay. What do you think about dating down? Do you think that that's a thing?
I think if you think you're dating down, it's not going to work out between you and your partner, because that's such a foul way to date someone. And obviously I've been part of those jokes when I see a funny meme and I'll post it, but it's not really nice, because imagine if the other person finding out that you're dating them because they're the ugly ones. You're just giving the ugly dude a chance because he's nice. Like, that's not a nice feeling at all.
No, I totally agree.
The whole thing of like, I lowered my standards for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly, because are your standards only based on looks?
Right.
What if he was also dating down because your personality is the worst?
Yeah, that's so true. Well, what about like money? Do you think a guy needs to make more money than the girl?
I do, unless you're dating someone who's very confident. I was interviewing Wells. He was on The Bachelor, and he's married to Sarah Hyland. And he even said that when he was in his 20s, he realized that he probably would have never been able to date someone like Sarah. She makes so much more money than him. But because when he hit his 30s and he had enough confidence in himself, and he believed that he's still as much of a man with or without money, and he was able to provide other things to Sarah that didn't involve money because she needed him emotionally. Because he was mature enough to handle all of that, he said that's why he was able to fully date her.
Yeah.
And they were able to get closer. But he said, I know myself, and I would have never been able to date her in my 20s. It would have been too hard for me. And that's the truth that a lot of people deny. Because if you are making more money than a man, that's completely fine. A lot of times we're okay with it, us women. But it is true. He needs to feel very confident in himself and not to feel inferior.
Totally. Okay. Do you think dating apps have ruined romance, or are they just the new normal?
I want to say no, because I'm such a hopeless romantic, and I just always think the right people are out there for you, but based on how I've noticed with society in general, there is a large decline in people being sexually active, in birth rates, in people getting married. So based on that data, I would say that social media plus dating apps have ruined it, because people now are so quick to end things with someone else, or they're always looking over their shoulder. Because before, you would check people out walking down the street. Now I can check people out while sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Is it just on my phone?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, this girl's hot and she's not going to, be rude to me when I feel like being 3 hours late.
Yeah.
Like, I bet she wouldn't talk back to me, or and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I do think, but when it comes to dating, a lot of people, I hear them say things like, oh, social media has ruined dating. I don't know. When I one day woke up and decided that specific things I want in dating, I'm going to get, I started getting them. So in my opinion, women create the standards and men follow.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the beginning, it doesn't matter how amazing a man is, he will test a woman. It's very normal because they want to see how far they can go by seeing if you want to send them a nude, seeing if you just want to do Netflix and chill instead of them taking you out.
Did you read my intro or listen to my intro? That's literally my entire intro was about like that, about this guy that I was dating. And he was like so quick to start like being like too sexual too soon. And also like didn't want to go on a date, wanted to come to my house.
Right. And it has nothing to do with your worth. It's either they're not ready for something, so it doesn't matter who's in front of them. It just won't happen. So it's easier for you to then discern what's right for you, what's not. Or they're testing it out just to see what you're okay with. Like before when I was dating more, there was this one guy, we were talking and everything, and he lived all the way in Venice. And
which by the way, guys, is like 25 minutes from her.
and then I said, on first dates, like I like to get picked up, especially if I trust the person. I want to get picked up. I like all that old-fashioned treatment. Yeah. And if people say, well, men go, if you expect that old-fashioned treatment, then you better be an old-fashioned girl. Guess what? I am, because I don't have sex with anyone. Yeah. So, and they're like, oh, great. Who am I getting in with? Cooking for marriage. So you're welcome. Yeah. If you want to taste a cooked meal, marry me. Yeah. So very old-fashioned about that.
Oh, I like that. And I think it's so true. You treat the world how to be in relationship with you.
So with this guy, I told him what I'm expecting. And he said, oh, can we meet halfway? And I said, listen, there's a million other women out there. You're going to find someone that's a better match for you. And clearly read it online. And he said, all right. So in that moment, I didn't start being like, doesn't he know my worth? How amazing I am? It was just easy. Like, okay, cool. In the beginning, people pretend to be someone they're not. They pretend to be better. Yeah. So if even the beginning, he can't even pretend, like that means I'm getting something even worse down the line.
100%. That is what I just had to shut the door to as well.
You just have to know something to do with you.
Yeah.
And they always come back. Months later, he was like, hey, do you still want to go out? And I was like, no.
Yeah, I know, no. Because they don't change. You already showed me who you are.
You couldn't drive to pick me up, even though I won't drive to your area. But still.
Still, in the beginning, the man has to just be a little bit more like chivalrous.
You just have to either train them or find them.
Yeah.
And yes, it is harder because a lot of men now have different expectations because a lot of us have made it easier in dating where we think, well, if I don't want to ask for too much, then he won't like me.
I think also just as a woman, like a woman who wants to have kids and like desperately wants to have kids like I did when I met my ex-husband, like I was willing to kind of like close one eye to some of the like now things that I just wouldn't put up with because I was like, well, I really want to have kids. Like I can't be so picky because I'll miss my window. So I feel like there are times when I think we are more willing to be lenient with our boundaries, but in the end, they're still going to be there and it's going to become an issue either like sooner or later.
Yeah, I forget where I saw this, but they always say that the one thing you adore the most about your partner in the end will be the thing you hate the most about them.
Really?
So meaning
it's so true actually now that I think about it with him.
Yeah, like I'm so impatient and one time I dated a guy and he was way more laid back. And I thought I loved that about him. Wow, he could teach me how to be more laid back. Eventually, I was like, I hate this man. Yeah. He's a little, like, he would be like, I'll be at your house at 7. It's like 8 p.m. He's nowhere near. 9 p.m. he finally arrives. And I'm like, come on, we're a team. Like, what's the big deal? I told you I'm like, you wasted 2 hours of my life. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm dating a child. Yeah. So I didn't love that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't either. And I stopped telling people that I'm laid back too. Cause I think back, when we're in our 20s, we're like, oh, we want to be the cool girl. We want to be like, I'm laid back. I like sports. I like to stay home. You don't need to take me out. It's like, no, I don't like sports. I'm not laid back. I don't want to stay home. I want to go out. I want to be taken on dates. And I'm not chill. I don't have any chill. Don't expect it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I am a chill girl and I'm so laid back and I love sports. I can't relate to you, but I'm kidding.
Totally. I'm like, you should date her. I have a lot of guys who would really like you. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your charm and your spunk. And we can find you at Almost Adulting, right?
Yeah. You can find me on Almost Adulting. That's my podcast on every Thursday. We have solo episodes and then sometimes guests. Like she's coming on my podcast as well. And we're going to shoot the shit.
Yes, that's what we say in America.
We're going to shoot the shit. And have a lot of fun. We're going to listen to some fun call-ins. And if you are into memes and laughing, you can check out Daddy Issues _ on Instagram. And then my personal Instagram is Violet Benson.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.